If you're like me, the voices in my head get really loud sometimes. Even worse, I can start to believe and build my life off of false narratives. Today, we're going to address 3 lies you must silence if you want to save the best version of your life. What's going on, family? Welcome to episode 3 of the podcast. I don't know if I can say anymore like I'm super excited to be in the podcaster world now because we're in this thing. We're a part of a big, beautiful community. Thanks to all the other podcasters who've shown love, who said welcome to the family. I'm super grateful for the love they've shown. And thank you for sharing and liking and subscribing, rating and reviewing. You help us so much when you do. And if you haven't already, do those things. Like, subscribe, share, rate, and review. Tell a friend, text a friend, say, hey, you gotta hear this. And I also want to take this time and let you know that we want to help as many people as possible find the courage to start over, stay strong, and shape a beautiful future. This is all birthed out of a heart project that we've been talking about week by week, a book that we released last year called Square One, which creates opportunities for people to not just see the square one moments of their life as a place to just wait on the next season, but a place to work in that season towards building the future that they can be most excited about. We had an amazing time. I just want to take this moment too and thank all of those who joined us for the Square One Masterclass last week. What a time we had learning how to build resilient lives, how to build a rhythm of life that allows us productivity, but also pace and peace. And we even talked about how to build revenue through every season of our life so that no square one moment stops us from starting over, staying strong, and shaping our future. Hey, but if you didn't get to join that, there's still an opportunity for you to plug into our March coaching group. Throughout the month of March, we're going to be building a Square One community, and I'm going to be taking those principles even further. We're going to be really looking at how to build on what we talked about in the masterclass. And during this time, we'll even have time to take some Q&A and talk about how to contextualize our conversation to maybe where you are. Now, there's a limited amount of spots, so make sure you head over to my website, vernongordon.com, to register there for our March coaching group, or to go ahead and grab the Square One book, which you can also find on Amazon as well. Well, today we're talking about the 3 lies you have to silence so that you can save your life. Now, I know that sounds dramatic. Maybe you're like, really? Is it that serious? And the answer is yes. And I believe by the end of our time together, you're going to believe this as well. Now, when we talk about saving our life, right, that language can seem very dramatic or aggressive, but I do believe this with all my heart, that our life is comprised of daily decisions, daily moments where we are choosing what kind of life to build, right? Whether that's in our aspirations, whether that's in our health, whether that's in our friendships or our relationships, whether that's in our parenting, whether that's in our money, in every area of our life, right? We are deciding what kind of life to build. And if that is the case, that means that the narrative or the story that we build from is critical to the quality of life that we'll have. And when I begin to think about this, I begin to think about a game that I played in college. Don't judge me. Maybe you played this game too, called Two Truths and a Lie. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of all the stories with the game, but in a nutshell, somebody will say 2 truths and a lie. And your job is to guess which one is the lie. What's crazy is I believe that while we played this game for fun, while we've played it in social settings, while we've played it with different things, the truth of the matter is we play this game with ourselves all the time. That we live in our thoughts and in our heads. And the truth is we're probably playing it with opposite, not just 2 truths and a lie, but we have all of these thoughts and all of these narratives and all of these truths and all of these lies floating around our heart and our head all the time. And we have to try to decide which ones to grab, to cling to, and to build our lives from. And let's be real. Maybe I'm just talking about myself, but when You hit disappointment or difficulty, it is very easy for our thoughts to begin crafting a narrative and a storyline that's hard to turn off. It's very easy for me, even as we talked about in the last episode, to think my failure is my future reality. It's very easy for me to get stuck feeling like this is not just where I am, but this is all of who I am. Brene Brown even talks about this. She says, the social psychologist, she says that guilt says, this is what I've done. Shame says, this is who I am. And I think that on the journey of life, shame has done more damage to some of us than any other thing. The idea that we started off a year, we told everybody this was our goal, and we started off a season of our lives, and we told everybody this relationship was going to be the one, or this marriage was going to be great, and this job opportunity was going to be everything we ever imagined. And then as life progressed, as seasons progressed, as our story progressed, maybe we found ourselves in a setback, a disappointment, a delay, a denial, a rejection, and we didn't just think it was something done or a moment in time. We accepted it as who we are. And shame shrunk us back, and shame caused us to delay ever starting again, and shame created all of this way of living because we built our life off of a lie. Not that this happened, but this is who I am, right? And this is imperative if we are to overcome square one seasons, that we become more effective at naming and silencing the lie. I was talking to an NFL coach not too long ago, and I was asking him about the ability to coach his team season after season. He had been successful in many seasons and had won in many amazing accolades. And I was saying, man, how do you do it? You have all of these personalities and all of these people with all of these abilities. How do you do it? And what have you found is the difference between players that succeed, that continue season after season to excel, and those who don't? And he began talking to me about a couple of things that I think are appropriate to all of our contexts as well. The first one he started talking about, he said, is at the end or the beginning of the next season, he always says to them, hey, what you did last season doesn't matter. We got to start again. That this is an opportunity for us to start again. Nobody cares about how many games we won. Nobody cares about how well we did, right? But guess what? That also means we have an opportunity, because nobody cares about the mistakes we made. Nobody cares about the failures we had. This season is a new opportunity for us to do it again and do it better. And I wonder how many of us need to look at our life and say, that's my truth too. That it doesn't matter what pitfalls I found last time. It doesn't matter where I messed up or where I didn't align. I have another opportunity to start my season over. But not only that, he said, the thing I've noticed most about players who continue to excel in this sport, which people get injuries and their body gets bruised and beaten year after year, he said, I can always tell the players who are come back to the next season, but they still don't trust themselves after the injury of the last one. And here's what he said. He said, and if they don't learn to trust themselves, they'll never return to their potential the way they could be. I wonder how many of us, if we be honest, the reason we have not fully actualized our potential is because we don't trust ourselves after the square one season we just came through. That the setback started to hold us back from maximizing our potential. And this is why a proper theology and idea of ourselves is so important, because the voice I give the most attention to is the one that shapes my life. Don't miss this. What has my attention has my attitude. What has my attitude has my actions. And what has my actions has my life. What has my attention has my attitude. What has my attitude has my actions. And what has my actions has my life. There's even scripture to back this up, and I want you to see it really quickly. 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5. It says, casting down imaginations and everything that seeks to exalt itself against the knowledge of God. The knowledge of God. I don't want you to miss this, because God thinks something about you. There is a truth about you when God designed you. A truth with purpose, a truth with potential, a truth with possibility. But in life, there will be narratives and stories that will circle in your mind that seek to come against that truth in your life. And you have to, here's what it says in the verse, bring those things into captivity, every thought to the obedience of Christ. In other words, hey, everything I think has to be submitted to what God thinks about me. So here's the challenge, right? Do I think about me what God thinks about me? Here's what it says in Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world. Now let's pause here. What is the pattern of our world? One translation says, or culture. Don't easily conform to it without even thinking. Here's the reality. We live in a culture that if you won't think for yourself, it'll think for you. And it'll tell you what to even think about you, right? And these things can show up as lies about our identity, lies about our potential, lies about our worth, lies about the quality of our ideas that we want to bring into the earth. But it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. His pleasing, good, and perfect will. God has something amazing for your life. You got to be able to test and approve every thought that comes into your mind to ensure that you don't start living a lie that is less than who you've been called to be. All right? So here are 3 lies you have to silence so that you can live the best life possible. The first lie is this: I'll never be good enough. I'll never be good enough. If nobody's ever told you this, I want you to hear me loud and clear today. And I think this is the beauty of having an identity in Christ. And as I've said so many times before, maybe all of you who watch this podcast don't believe like I believe. But I want you to hear my heart today. I believe that when God created you, you are loved before you are known. We see this with Jesus. He's baptized by John in the river, and then he comes out, and God said, this is my child with whom I'm well pleased. Don't miss it. Jesus ain't done nothing yet. No miracles, no watered wine. He ain't healed nobody. He ain't made no lame walk. He ain't made no blind see. He ain't brought Lazarus back from the dead. He ain't got up from his own grave. And God said, before all of that, I want it to be known. This is my son, who I'm already pleased with, who I already love. And I believe he feels the same way about you. You're loved before you are known. So this idea of I'll never be good enough is a lie you have to silence. And here's the truth, right? Because there's a truth that combats every lie. Here's the truth. You're not as good today as you will be if you keep going. It's okay for you to acknowledge that I don't have it all figured out yet. It's okay for you to acknowledge that I don't have all the answers. It's okay for you to acknowledge that I got a lot of growing to do without allowing the lie that you'll never be good enough to stop you from doing anything at all. Can I be honest with you? Right? This was my struggle through 2022. I struggled because I experienced a lot of physical challenges, and I had a lot of ailments, and my body began to deteriorate in a way, my legs specifically with the metal and the plastic, and it really set me back. I had a lot of goals. I had a lot of things I wanted to accomplish. I had a lot of things I wanted to do, and I had to put all those things on hold because of my physical health. And I was frustrated all year long. And I started to feel like, as I looked at other people around me doing and producing and building, and friends who were launching and growing, I started to feel like, man, I'll never be as good as that now. Even doing this podcast, if I'm being honest with you, I'm in a world that I've never been in. This took courage. This took deciding to step into something. And I'm not as good as somebody else. But the lie is that I'll never be good enough. No, the truth is I'm not as good today as I will be if I keep going. This is the lie that steals progress. So you have to silence it so that you don't prevent yourself from starting anything when you hit a square one moment. Here's the second lie that you got to silence, that nobody will accept this, whatever this is. The idea, the creative project, the business, the thing you want to launch, the blog, the song, whatever it is. Here's the lie. Nobody will want this. And the truth is, that's not true. Now, can I tell you the truth? Everybody won't accept this, but you don't need them to. Here's the truth. No matter what God has called you to produce, no matter what you're going to birth in your life, no matter what you're going to produce, the lie is that because everybody won't accept it, that nobody will accept it. Everybody won't accept it, but you don't need everybody to be productive, to be powerful, and to be profitable, as we've been talking about. You only need the right people to accept it. As I do this podcast right now, I have to acknowledge the reality that everybody doesn't need this podcast. That doesn't mean somebody doesn't need this podcast. And somebody needs what you have. And for so many of us, this is the lie that steals productivity, because we stop producing because somebody or some sets of people said they didn't like it or need it. But just because some people don't doesn't mean nobody does. So be productive. Produce it. Present it. Promote it. Put it out. Try. Go for it. The lie is that nobody will accept it. And that's just not true. Somebody needs what you have. Here's the third lie that you have to silence so that you can save your best life. If I don't do it fast, then it won't happen at all. If I don't do it fast, then it won't happen at all. One of the greatest enemies of peace is improper pace. It's this fear that just because whatever it is not happening fast, that nothing's happening at all. The truth of the matter is, a lot can be happening beneath the surface that nobody sees yet. Maybe you release something and you're like, man, I didn't get the followers I thought I would get. I didn't get the likes I thought I would get. I didn't get this. But are you becoming better in the process? Something's happening under the surface. Maybe you release something and you feel like, man, I thought that was going to open up this door. But just because it didn't open up the door you thought it would, did it not open up any door? Something's happening. Maybe you thought you would have had more of something at this stage, but just because it doesn't happen fast doesn't mean it didn't happen at all. And this is the lie that steals peace, because you are tempted to miss all that has happened simply because you didn't see what you wanted to happen. If it doesn't happen fast, that doesn't mean nothing is happening at all. 3 lies that you have to silence so that you can live and save your life. The first lie, you'll never be good enough. The second lie, nobody will accept this. The third lie, if I don't do it fast, it won't happen at all. Don't miss this. You can reject that lie for the truth. And the truth is, there is so much potential in you no matter what season you sit in right now. The truth is, God has created you for great purpose, potential, and power. The truth is, you can choose peace, productivity, and progress. And you can decide today to see yourself the way God sees you. Any thought, any lie, any narrative that seeks to come against that knowledge, come against that truth, to make you feel less than adequate, you got to take it captive. And you got to decide to see yourself the way God sees you. I'll never forget, and I'll say this in closing, I was talking to my kids most recently, and my kids were in a space, we were at this basketball court, and they told another family, they said, my dad is the best basketball player ever. And this was years ago. I'm their coach now, so they probably don't feel the same way after me coaching them. But this was years ago. And what they saw in their dad was certainly something their dad did not believe about himself. And let me be honest, I'm not the best basketball player ever. But what I learned is childlike faith is a real thing. That they saw potential that could not be obstructed by anybody's opinion. They said, what I see in that person, what I see in my dad is greater than what you see. And I thought in that moment, man, my kids believe in me, and I certainly don't believe that about me. And it's appropriate for you to be honest about your own limitations and your own abilities and your own potential and your own areas of competency, certainly. But when you find what you've been called to do, don't let the season stop you from continuing to map progress, productivity, and peace. See yourself the way God sees you and watch your life go to the next level. Hey, I'm so grateful for you joining me for episode 3. I'm hoping this has helped you because ultimately our goal is to help people start over, stay strong, and shape their future. Hey, don't forget to head over to the website, vernongordon.com. We're about to get our coaching group started. And I'm telling you, we're going to dive into principles like these and so much more week after week throughout the month of March. And if you don't already have the book, Square One, make sure you go grab a copy. We're about to start even digging into some of the content more that is in this book. So head over to the website or to Amazon to get your copy today. And remember, like, subscribe, share. If this has helped you at all, rate and review so you can help us reach more people with the truth. I love y'all. See you in episode